Research can be quite a raw subject, so you better grab some coffee or energy drink to stay awake for this one. We will go through several steps per category in this masterclass. First, we walk quickly through the category and tier it as an entirety. Then we dive deeper into the category and assign a tier per research. As usual, we will use the in-game tiers: Ancient, Legendary, Epic, Rare, Uncommon and Common. The higher the tier, the more priority you should give it. We will look at all of this from the perspective of a beginning to medium player. So the first category is production, and it gives a strong overall boost to your city. With the exception of the final research, you also need the entire category maxed out before you can unlock the high tier researches like Royals. The Royals you can find in the military research category. Fortune has it that it doesn't cost much effort to keep up with these researches, as the level of your Maester Tower progresses a lot slower than the research. Hence you can easily keep it maxed out depending on your level. This category has a high priority and some skills should be maxed out at all times, although you can skip several elements entirely. I'd put the production category in Legendary tier, keep it maxed out whenever possible. When taking a look inside the category, you'll see several very interesting researches, the most interest being Building Mastery. Since you have an entire city to build, you should keep this one always maxed out until it's either level 10 or you need to level the Maester's Tower. So this research get an Ancient tier. Farming Mastery is the other research. Since we only build one farm and keep our grain at 0, this tier shouldn't be leveled at all. However, you will need it to have it maxed out for another research, as it is the requisite of the other research in this category. This is why you should have no choice but to level it along, causing this to get the Uncommon tier. You must level it despite being useless. Going to the next line from top to bottom, we first have Storehouse Management. This research gives a massive boost to your protect resources up to 70%. However, every alliance should have a good banking system and no player should ever sit on a lot of resources anyway. Again, we have no choice, we must level this. This is why I will put it in the Rare tier. Because it isn't as bad as the Farming Mastery, which you absolutely don't need, but it's also not something you really need to become a lot better. Now the next 3 researches we all put together. If you are a hyper farm, at least one of these are incredibly important, and if you're a balanced city, all of them are. It boosts your production with 80% at max level, so obviously it's incredibly important for your growth. This is why we put all of them at Legendary. Next up we have Resource Exploitation 1 and Transport Upgrade. If you are a very active player and gather a lot and send your troops out somewhere around 4 times a day, it's highly advised. Other than that, there are a lot of researches a lot better. Since many players gather a lot and these quests are prerequisite to other high researches, they both get the Rare tier, as it is both highly beneficial and need to be researched anyway before researching mid-game. Now diamond prospecting holds no value whatsoever. It only gives a 10% boost to gathering speed of diamonds, which spawn only once a month. Once a diamond mine spawns, there will be so many players gathering that you're lucky to find some. Since it's prerequisite to no one, we just make it common. Now next up we will dive into City Defense. The entire category will revolve around upgrading your traps and the wall. As interesting as this seems, the wall won't hold any longer if a strong player hits you, regardless of what you do. And early game, the wall barely has any value. The traps will kill some troops, but the percentage is very low. Personally, I have seen very high players kill attacking troops without taking any losses, but not before they had 12 million troops, of which a lot were tier 4. Which basically means don't bother unless you have no priority upgrades. Early game you might have some room to upgrade it, that's why we're gonna put it on Uncommon. For upgrades we put Engineering, Fortification Might, and all the different fortification unlocks on Uncommon and the rest on Common. Fortifications are very cheap to build, and the average player doesn't get attacked more than once a month. The third category is probably the most well known and the biggest obstacle for all players. The military category increases your army and unlocks troop types, and is by far the most expensive category. The category itself belongs nowhere else than in the Ancient category. Unlocking a higher troops tier from Veteran to Elite or from Elite to Royal massively boosts your army. You start with Training Mastery 1, which instantly boosts your training speed by 20%. This also gets ancient tier considering the boost in one level and the very low cost. Now you can't really live without spying. It allows you to see so much more per level when scouting an enemy. Due to its incredible diversity, it earns legendary tier as it is essential for a good fighter, but shouldn't be rushed above anything else. As for pathfinding, this increases your marching speed by up to 70%, a massive boost. As essential as it isn't the most important thing to do right away, so this will get just an epic tier. Most of the other skills in the category revolve around unlocking better troops. They all get ancient quality with the exception of bowmen. Better troops are always the first priority. Unlocking bowmen is currently not really a priority as they are still too weak, as other formations are much more important. I will go in depth on this in other guides. That's why I put all the bowmen on epic except for the royal bowmen on rare. Most endgame players won't unlock those at all because of the tavern. The tavern gives a lot of free troops of your strongest unlocked tier. If you don't open the bowman, it won't give you bowmen. Upgrading troops will give massive boost to your army and allows you to kill higher rebel leaders, carry more in expeditions and attack stronger players, increasing your resource income and plunder. Now all the other trainings get legendary with an exception of the armor upgrades which gets ancient. This will boost your entire army. As a side note, don't forget you need all the production researches unlocked before you can unlock the royal troops. That means building mastery, farming mastery, storehouse management, quarry, lodging, iron mining mastery, transport upgrade and then resource exploitation 1. They all need to be level 10 to unlock army armor upgrade 1, which unlocks royal infantry, royal spearmen, royal bowmen and royal cavalry. The next category is pacification and expedition and is massively important to mid and high tier alliances. Imagine what would happen if 100 members all could kill an extra level 4 rebel leader every day. The rewards would be massive. Especially once you unlocked royal troops, but also in between, don't be afraid to put some points in this category. Try to boost attack or motivation. Killing a rebel leader will give everyone in your alliance a free chest. Rare chest on level 3, epic on level 4 and legendary on level 5. Now this is why this category gets an epic tier. Now it's quite a pain to progress through this category as everything requires the previous research to be unlocked at a higher level than the next. All the pacification strategies get epic tier as it unlocks the ability to fight higher rebel leaders. You probably think, isn't that super good? But no, it is not. Because if you don't have strong commanders and a lot of research and pacification, you will only reduce the chest income for your alliance by attacking 2 strong rebel leaders. If you only need 2 hits for a level 2, but you need 20 hits for a level 4, it is better to bring in 10 level 2 chests than 1 level 4 chest. So make sure you don't over progress this tier, unless you have some gold commanders and are near level 60 lord level. All the weakness analysis research are incredible and boost your damage. Also the inspiring speech, make sure you do some extra damage, so both of them get legendary tier. There are a total of 3 weakness analysis. All the other ones you will automatically level if you want to reach those weakness analysis. Now there are a lot of utility researches. I'll make them all rare. They are all average, but you will research them automatically by reaching the further researches in this category. Then you have tactical planning 1 and 2. They are absolutely useless because combined they will reach a combo cap of 20 and there is no way you need 20 attacks to hit a rebel leader because then you're already on way too strong rebel leader. You should always be able to kill a rebel leader in 2, 3 or 4 hits. Then lastly we have Chivalry 1 and 2, which will just give you flat motivation, which is very good, so gets epic as well. Now the next category is Advanced Defense. Investing in this category early would halt your growth a lot, so ignore this entire category. For this reason, we will make this category common, as it should be researched one of the last categories. Engineering 2, the fortification repairs, and the fortification might will get uncommon, and the rest all will get common. There is not much more to say, it only increases your wall, but the wall is not that impressive and a bit out of balance. Rushing to the next category brings us with Advanced Military. This category brings a mass amount of utility and is ideal to start exploring as a mid-tier player. Due to the incredible upgrades you find there like archives, first aid and troop training, We tier this category epic as well. On its own it's at least legendary, but we want to slow the progression in this category a bit for the newer players by putting it lower on the tier list. Go full for it when you have enough room to research it though. Despite not being a priority, several elements should not be waited with too long to make it a lot easier for yourself. We start off with the purple tier right away. Coordinate gathering brings a little utility that will automatically select the right amount of troops when sending troops to a resource node. On its own it's not that impressive, as it's not much work, but always handy and a quick grab. Spread out over the entire category we will find 16 researchers that reduce the cost of each specific group type. But going for these will cost a lot of time and the amount is a bit low. That is why we make those uncommon. If you specialize on a specific troop type and train a lot more of those, go for it. Else there is a lot much better to research first. And then we come across another pathfinding. Just like pathfinding 1, in military we give this a purple tier. Marching speed can mean the difference between life and death. First aid brings a lot of healing speed. Having to heal your troops, especially in events like Kingdom vs Kingdom, can be really expensive. That's why this one gets a legendary tier. Drill instructor boosts the training amount by 20%, which is handy but not essential, as a full training queue with army tents and only the barracks and maybe a Keswick terrier already often takes more than a full day, and it's no trouble setting a new queue once a day. For this reason it gets uncommon. Talent archives enables you to save talent pages. An equipment archive does the same. Putting some levels in there is not expensive and is highly advised as soon as you can. Therefore I will make both legendary. Troop formation enables you to make pre-edited formations, which is essential for a mid-tier or higher player in events like Alliance Conquest or other war events. Having some levels in troop formation is an absolute must. The training mastery gets an ancient skill, as you will benefit from it every time you train troops. New procedures 1 and 2 will be put in the epic tier. Both are highly useful, but it doesn't really happen often that you need to send out more than 5 troop formations unless you're a gatherer, and they are very deep in the tree. The formations category boosts your overall city production and effectiveness a lot, and it's a great way for the advanced player to better his city. However, it also enables you to create formations, which is incredibly important to effectively fight like a real warrior. You can change the formation, which usually always infantry in front, to have your spearmen or cavalry frontline. Therefore this tier gets epic as well. Now it starts by boosting your gathering, as it is for some people very important and it's easy to level being the first research of that category. Now gathering guide is not that important and gets common. Marching the gathering site is not really essential. Both other researches get rare, just like the one in production. Training mastery is always advised, only this one is a little bit weaker than the ones in the categories before this, so this one only gets legendary. Then the first 2 formations are rather easy to unlock and highly advised, as you actually have all the 3 best formations already. You can choose your own frontline, infantry, cavalry or spearmen. I will give them both ancient. Then triage gets legendary, as you can never have enough of this. Treasure is your gold dragon's capacity, which allows you to hold more gold at once without the city stopping to produce gold dragons. Therefore it gets epic. The Iron Bank investment is mostly important to free-to-play players, but other than that shouldn't be rushed too soon, therefore it gets uncommon. Gold Dragon's minting will increase your gold dragon production, so gets ancient. Both the transport research are rather useless, as you're almost always really close to either a player or a bank you want to trade with, so get common. However, the tax is good but not too good, mainly because you will need 10 levels to only decrease it by 1%, so at max market level it goes from 8% to 7% tax. Going deeper in early is ill-advised, since it will cost way too much to be beneficial for your growth. So everything after this becomes common, except for the army researches, they are rare. But just forget about the rest now. The commandership category is both unique and absolutely no priority. So we will make this category rare. Supply mastery will give a very rare skill called resources from rescue. Every time you get hit, you get this pop-up that an amount of your resources are rescued. The higher your supply mastery, the more you rescue. The inventories, as well as the treasure and the management, will increase your capacity, which means you can produce more. For gold dragons this is really important, so that one gets epic. Stone, lumber, iron can be important depending if you're hyper farming, and grain should never be important because you never should be producing grain. Intrepid Spirit increases your stamina to be used in the weirwood. Having some extra stamina is actually really beneficial, especially if you're not that active player. This way you don't miss out on any stamina if you're overproducing. Shelter capacity is often only useful for early members. Higher players will barely use the shelter except for storing their lord and only their lord, because they will have too much army anyway. Merchant guild brokers should be boosted a bit. 10% only at maximum level makes it uncommon. Too much for too little gain. All the element bound to rally are very good for a rally leader, but if you're a warrior, gatherer or anything else, not that important. So no priority at all, so gets uncommon. Iron Bank investment is again way too deep in a non-priority tree, so gets uncommon again. Chivalry boosts your motivation, so it's very important, so gets rare. Devout Offering is incredibly good, especially for endgame players, so even gets rare. Despite that, you shouldn't focus on it at all. Getting even deeper in this tree is way too far out and they all get common. The last tree, Great City Military, is common. This is the last research category you ever touch. We will also make all the researches common, mainly because, for example, Training Mastery 4 gives only 10% training speed for a higher cost than 3 and 2 will give, who will give 16% and 24% respectively, and so don't ever touch this tree unless the rest is done. Now of course I will leave a link to the image in the description, and don't forget, this is based on research you should focus on, not which is better or worse. I do hope you liked this guide, it was a lot of work. Share with your Alliance members, subscribe, and thank you for watching.